Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. This show is dedicated to asking tough questions for you, the viewers. We bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Today, we're going to be talking about law enforcement. Law enforcement is a career that is always in the public eye, whether it's for heroic reasons or scandals. It's a profession that more than 900,000 Americans hold, knowing full well the hazards associated with their occupation. In the past 10 years, for instance, more than 1,500 police officers, including 158 in 2018 alone, died in the line of duty. Tens of thousands more were assaulted and injured. There isn't a cop in the country who doesn't understand that dishonesty or improper use of force or discrimination damns all police officers. Some of the negativity publicity is deserved. There are officers who are clearly wrong as to their use of force. The records reveal tens of thousands of cases of serious misconduct and abuse. They include over 22,000 investigations of officers using excessive force, 3,200 allegations of rape, child molestation, and other sexual misconduct, and 3,000 cases of domestic violence by officers. There is no excuse for abuse of power. There is no excuse for egregious force. There is no excuse for sexual misconduct. Cops are held to a higher standard. There are 800,000 sworn law officers employed by the state and local agencies, and another 325,000 non-sworn officers in federal, state, county, and local agencies. These statistics come from the Bureau of Justice Statistics. There is no workforce over 1 million people without problems. Less than 10% of officers in most police forces get investigated for misconduct. I'm unaware of any profession that can claim that over 90% of their employees are misconduct-free. How many priests, ministers, and other clergy members have been implicated in sexual or emotional misconduct? How many executives have been charged with less than honest business dealings? Officers have beaten members of the public, planted evidence, and used their badges to harass women. They have lied, stolen, dealt drugs, driven drunk, and abused their spouses. Despite their role as public servants, the men and women who swear an oath to keep communities safe can generally avoid public scrutiny for their misdeeds. The records of their misconducts are filed away, rarely seen by anyone outside their department. Police unions and politicians alike have worked to put special protections in place to ensure some records are shielded from the public's view or even destroyed. Most misconducts involve routine infractions, but the records reveal tens of thousands of cases of serious misconduct and abuse. They include 23,000 investigations of officers using excessive force, 3,200 allegations of rape, child molestation, and sexual misconduct, and over 3,000 cases of domestic violence by officers. Dishonesty is a frequent problem. The records document at least 3,000 instances of perjury, tampering with evidence or witnesses, or falsifying reports. There were 418 reports of officers obstructing investigations, most often when they or someone they knew were targets. Less than 10% of officers in most police forces get investigated for misconduct. Yet, some officers are constantly under investigation. Nearly 3,000 have been investigated on 10 or more charges. 20 face 100 or more allegations, yet kept their badge for years. Today, we will explore why these things may be happening. Joining us here today at our Haverhill studio, owner of Your Boy Nice, Mr. Andy Pena, and also join us by phone, founder of New England Truth, is no other than Tyrone. Gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you for being here.
First, we're going to start with you, Mr.
Hola.
Pena. Thank you, Tyrone. Mr. Pena,
Yes, sir.
please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So like you said, my name is Andy Pena, local business owner here at YBN, your boy Nice, local taxpayer. Pleasure to be here in the People's Network, AC Media.
Well, I appreciate you coming by. Mr. Pena, what measures should police undertake to improve relationships with the community?
More community organization. They should like offer maybe police cookouts in local impoverished neighborhoods. You know, bring it to them. Bring it to their basketball courts, their local parks. And set up maybe, you know, a little fun day, a little face painting event or something like that.
So I'm aware that the most police departments do have those type of events, usually held like in the police station or the downtown areas. Can you expand a little bit in reference to community-wise?
Well, you said it all in the introduction. Most people are afraid to communicate with the police officers, you know, even though they're just on a job like anybody else. But there are some that are not as nice or friendly as others. And that scares the people, and some people in their own community are frowned upon for even talking to police officers. But if you bring it into their backyard, maybe there's a comfort level. There's more of a community there.
Great, and I tend to agree with that. I want to bring in Tyrone. Tyrone, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Tyrone, welcome to Behind the Scenes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Please tell
Hi,
us.
Pena.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a 52-year-old white male that grew up in the streets in New York. Did some crimes, did some foul things in my childhood. Straightened my life around. Became somewhat of an executive, I guess you would say. And I was violated by a police officer while in the course of my duties. I took that police officer and a subsequent arrest, the whole department to court, and won as my own pro se litigant. And I plan on filing a federal lawsuit as well.
So Tyrone, let me ask you this: what are the biggest issues facing police officers today?
Well, the biggest issue is the basics. When you were talking about, you know, playing basketball, I love basketball. I mean, I love basketball. Just so everyone set up. But I went and I volunteered with the police department after I got out of jail. And we would go around to schools, to high schools, and to boys clubs, and to the Teachers Association of America. And I'm going to tell you something. The reason why people don't want to talk to police is because that whole thing is just for a dog and pony show. Unfortunately, that's substance. If you think for a minute a police officer isn't going to put or try to get somebody in that group to work with them as a CO or CI, I mean, you know, that's not crazy. So the problem with that is you've got 20, 30% great cops, and then you got 60, 70% bad cops. It's an arbitrary number. I'm making it up. Well, how are you supposed to feel good about playing basketball and let down your guard against somebody? You know, those are the numbers.
So let me ask you this, Tyrone. Do you think the police departments should be investing more on technology, equipment, or focus more on developing soft skills to be used in communities, in community policing?
I 100% believe that the police departments are way ahead of where they need to be. I think that there's a lot of waste. They get military surplus funds every year, and it's increasing every year. And they get grants, and then they get, obviously, our tax dollars. And, I mean, look at them. Look at those beautiful cars. Look how many sit in the parking lots. Let's take some of that money, all right? Let's focus on some training, human resource training for these people, to how to not get so upset when you're dealing with a public that is upset. Your job is a tough job, right?
Why do you think?
So if you know,
why do you think that the public is so upset with law enforcement?
Well,
today?
that's because of technology. That harkens back to technology. We've got technology now, and people that were dumb are now going, oh, wait a second. And then people are able to voice this also. I never thought I'd be a YouTuber. Come on. And now I have a platform of 10,000 people that I can say to them, this is what's going on. Look, open your eyes, you know? So I think that the problem is systemic from the beginning, the Pinkerton days, and it really has never gone away. And now with the Patriot Act, it's like full force, and that's why I got involved too.
Yeah, the Patriot Act did change everything. That really did change. Mr. Pena, what was your take on what Mr. Terron just said?
No, he's definitely right. I agree.
Have you been hearing that from people that come into your local business and people that you
Well, he
know?
said that, you know, that's why the community is frowned upon when you talk against a cop, because for what he said, they try to turn you into a confidential informant, a CI. And that's how you looked on, even if you say hi to a police officer passing by. Because they're so frivolous. They're trying to entrap people. It's not just on the job. They're trying to make a name for them, a rank.
So Tyrone, I know that you have tons of videos out there, and we'll give out your YouTube channel later on in the program. But what made you get into recording public photography, especially for government officials and law enforcement?
I got it because of I was assaulted at work, like I said earlier, and the hypocrisy there. And I had been aware of it. I heard about cop blocking and cop watching, and I said, oh, what's this? Finally, somebody else is doing what I've been doing for the last 20, 30 years. You know, I've always done that. I just never video recorded it. And now everybody's doing it. It's like, cool. Everybody's starting to stand up. And so I said, well, if I can do that and offer a service to the community, I'm going to do it because I was victimized. So they created me. I am a creation of the hypocrisy. I am not the cause of it.
So when you say bad cops, I mean, can you elaborate a little bit more what you mean by a bad cop? Because if you ask generally out in public, a lot of people would say that not all cops are bad cops. What would you consider a bad cop? Tyrone?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hi.
I'm sorry, I lost you.
Yeah, let me, so what would you consider, what would you consider a bad cop?
A bad cop is a cop that carries his emotions into work and doesn't try to get better. We all have a learning curve. We all learn at our jobs. And no matter what job you got to learn. And the people that are training these people are training them that we're the enemy. They're different. All right, you've got a training issue that right from the beginning, creating bad cops by inception. So they come out here, they see things wrong, they don't stand up, that makes them a bad cop. I'd rather have a cop be a jerk to my face than be one of those passive aggressive manipulative people, because at least he's being honest about being that way, you know? I'm not saying it's right. You know, you've got cops that don't tell another cops. Come on, we know. How many of these guys are creating or committing civil rights violations by protocol?
So you say it's more lack of training, so should training be improved?
I would say not lack of, they're training the wrong way. They train a lot. I mean, I don't know if they train a lot. I think they need more legal advice, but I think they train. It's just that they don't train them to be connected with the community. They literally train them that we are the enemy.
Is that your
I mean, how
take?
does it make you feel?
Is that your take as well, Mr. Pena?
Yeah, I think it's excessive training. I think they have way too much training, and training in the wrong areas. So they're trained to go out there and find, not wait to serve. So what makes a good employee, if that was your question, what makes a good employee? If I'm a line cook at a restaurant, I wait for the order and execute the order. I'm not in the front busting tables. You ready? You need it? You got it? You want it? That's reverse policing, right? They trying to be there before the crime happens.
Correct.
And they turn the public against them while doing it.
And it's not like we see fire departments going out looking for
Correct.
fire, but we
Correct.
do see law enforcement out there looking for crime. But some people would say that that's a good thing. Some people would say that that is preventing police, you know, being proactive, trying to prevent things from happening. What say you on that, Tyrone?
Well, there's a double-edged sword there. Yes, that's perfect. That's great. Yes, we want that. We want police officers to do their job. not extort money from us for traffic violations. But the problem with that is they get out there, they're encouraged to get these write-ups, these summons, these whatever tickets. And if they fall short, guess what's going to happen? They're going to now create an incident without even realizing, subconsciously or whatever. All right? They get a little pissed off, give a little pushback because the videos now, we start to become educated. We're going to say to the police officer, well, why did you pull me over? And guess what's going to happen? That police officer is going to want to rip you out of that car sometimes. Not all the time, but a lot of times. That's the problem. Too many times. And I don't think that that double-edged sword is going to be clarified until things are dealt with in a training sense.
So basically, they will attempt to violate your civil rights, or basically accuse you of interfering with their duties, or being disorderly.
Disorderly, yeah.
Those type of lines.
Breach of peace, you know, all that stuff. And those are the most frivolous charges that they can throw at you. And when I go to court, and I have, like I said, and I don't lie, I have won every case. And I got another one coming up, and I'm going to win it. I know I'm going to win it. And it's just a bullshit harassment the second degree because I bumped somebody or he bumped me. You know, they just want to get something. They want to push back. It's like a game to them. And the law should be a game. People's civil rights should not be a game. It shouldn't be for you to get a promotion.
And officers do take an oath to protect and to serve, but as recent rulings from the Supreme Court, they have ruled that police officers don't have legal obligation to protect anyone. So they're basically here to serve the citizens.
No, they do not. No obligation whatsoever. Supreme Court has ruled on that a number of times, actually.
So,
and the photography has changed recently, but that's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Correct. And public photography, it's a constitutional right under the First Amendment. It's a guaranteed right that should not be infringed upon. Is that correct?
I think that is the only guaranteed form of employment in the United States of America. You can be a journalist or a photographer at any time you want.
So what strategies do you believe have been proven effective in diversifying the police force so that there is more representations of, for the community?
Is that for me or can you?
You can answer that.
I would say that it's got to start at the top, and it's about accountability. So if you're not going to get that top dog, that captain or whoever's running that department, it's not going to change because it's a cultural, systemic thing, and it's too easy to change the whole body with a leadership when it's that tight of a hierarchical system. It's a police department, but they're militaristic, so they're going to all give each other the salute. Yes, sergeant. Yes, sergeant. So if that captain says go out there and do this, they're going to do it, man. So I say it's got to be a civilian oversight board that's not elected by the police department or any politician. It has to be elected by the people, for the people.
So a civilian accountability board, that sounds like a thing that should be put in place in every city?
Yes, but they tried it in New Jersey and one other location, and it failed because you can't have the police department electing those people. How stupid. Or a politician, how stupid. And I would almost say it should be like a rotating chair scenario. So it's never like, we need term limits in Senate or in Congress, that kind of stuff.
Correct. So it's important to note that this show has invited the police department to come in and talk about these particular issues with us. And we had got no return response from the police chief here in Haverhill. And that says a lot for this particular chief on accountability-wise, where the disconnect, where he does not want to meet with the constituents to discuss these particular issues. What say you on that?
Me, again?
Yep.
I would say I went to Inside Edition. Inside Edition told me before I got down there, look, we're not playing around. We're going to ask you some tough questions. And I said to them, if you're not going to ask me the tough questions, you wouldn't be legitimate. You wouldn't be doing your job. And if you're a police officer and your responsibility is to police the community and serve the community, then why would you open up and give every opportunity, even if they are tough questions by adversaries? Why would you do it? Why wouldn't you be able to own up to that and have the confidence?
So let me ask you this. I have some data that proves that traffic tickets, police departments are generating extra revenue on tickets. What's your take on?
As you know, Massachusetts shut down a number of police departments as state troopers barracks because of all the fraudulent ghost tickets, overtime ripoffs, all the scams they were doing on this whole department and multiple departments. They closed them down, and that's happening all over the United States of America, slowly but surely, with the modern age. But it's only the beginning. The problem is this has been going on so long, it's systemic. These people have created their existence this way. How are we going to take this away from them? You're like saying to them, you're taking me away, everything away. But that is why it's so difficult here. That's why I almost feel like it's going to have to come to a head at some point. I'm just praying that it doesn't.
And you are correct. I mean, we have requested from multiple police departments here in the Merrimack Valley for their policy on quota. And they have come back and responded that their department does not operate under a quota. But yet, you mentioned the state police, and they were proven to be wrong. They have been operating under a quota.
There's police officers that have come back online and videotaped their sergeant or their whatever commanding officer giving a whole speech about you need to get tickets, and the one guy had to go back after he was off duty to write more tickets to meet that quota. There's too many police officers on YouTube talking about it.
Yeah.
There's quotas, people. Stop lying to yourselves. There's quotas. You know, informal or formal, there's quotas. They got to justify their existence.
Should all police departments be having body cams for their officers, Mr. Pena?
All police officers should have body cams on at all times if they're interacting with a civilian. If they are not, then they don't have to put it on. But if any time they're interacting with a civilian, turn it on. This whole thing of turning it on, turning it off, 3-second delay, whatever. Stop playing games. Put them on, turn them on, and let's see what happens.
I think if they have them, they should use them. I'm kind of against on the taxpayer side end. I don't want them to have that. I don't want them to have, you know, I'm not saying if they need it or not, but bulletproof vest, that's intimidating. I mean, in Massachusetts, what's the concealed carry, you know? If you have a gun permit, you can't show it. So why are the police walking around with batons and guns and bulletproof vests looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his young days?
And tasers,
you know?
pepper spray.
But only in these impoverished areas. You don't see in police.
They are way too militaristic, right? And they get all that surplus from our government. This is a government extension. This is kind of like, you know, I try to tell people all the time, we got to wake up, man, because it's real. This is a made-for-profit scenario, and we are the customers. And it's exploitation.
Wow. And Tyrone, now you founded New England Truth, and you post
Correct.
all your videos with your encounters on police departments all across the states, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts. You were recently up in Lowell.
Sure. Vermont, yep.
What is the experience from police departments? Are there different policies, or do you see them all as operating the same?
You know, that's a great question, because I think, you know, you might think geographically there might be a difference. You might think, okay, well, if it's inner city or if it's in the country, or is it different? I'm going to tell you something. There's no rhyme or reason here. I have never seen a rhyme or reason, because I can go in the country and meet the sweetest cop, greatest cop. You know, I can go into the city and meet the same guy, nice guy. There's no rhyme or reason. All I know is that at the end of the day, every police department in the United States of America has to look at how many of their cops are not doing the job right and start getting them to do them right. It's about accountability. I've managed people all my life, thousands and thousands of employees. And I think Pena said that he owns a business. He knows what you know it's like when you got to manage somebody to do something that's fallen short, okay? At some point in time, you gotta let that person go because it's killing your bottom line. It's hurting you. You know, dragging your productivity down.
When you talk about accountability, what do you mean by accountability?
Accountability. In other words, stop. It's the whole internal affairs thing is a joke. I've filed complaints before with internal affairs departments over the decades, and nothing ever happens in here the same thing. You know, we don't have the resources we need to now go back and hold these people accountable. Nobody's holding them accountable. What are we going to do? Sit here and stew? Sit here and get angry? Or are we going to react? And now we're pushing back. We've got a couple case precedents that went in our way, and now they're starting to push back with the lobbyists and a change in the Supreme Court against the transparency. And I'm concerned about that. So transparency and accountability go hand in hand. Fire these guys, get rid of them, train them right, and start bringing professionals in. Hold people accountable.
Correct. And that's what this show basically attempts to do. It's a show that promotes accountability and transparency within government, whether it's local law enforcement, whether it's local politicians that are looking to make a name for themselves, or whether it's elected officials that have been serving for over 30 years. So you bring a lot of good points to the show. You bring a lot of good points to the issue that most people are facing today. Tyrone, I appreciate you calling in today. Where can people find your program and take a look at some of your videos?
Well, you can go on. Obviously, you can Google New England Truth, and there will be, you know, either it's on Twitter or on YouTube, on Facebook. There's a bunch of different locations where you can pick it up. I prefer you go to YouTube. That's up to you. Whatever's convenient for you. But it's out there. New England Truth at YouTube is the home domain, and then there's a couple of satellite sites that you can go to.
Great. And Mr. Pena?
Well, you can catch me down at YBN Custom Clothing, right here on 4 Railroad Square, right here in Haverhill.
Appreciate it. And I just want to let the viewers know that this show is not anti-police. We don't have issues with all the police, but we do have an issue with the lack of accountability and the lack of transparency that is needed to have a better community and be able to work with our law enforcement and our local politicians and our representatives over at Beacon Hill, whether it's in the state level or in Congress and the federal level. And we don't really see that. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for tuning in to Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. Join us next time as we go behind the scenes to ask the tough questions, bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Thank you for watching.